When the night gets quiet, and everything finally goes still, does your imagination start to wander on its own? In Western pop culture, you might picture the undead, stumbling through ruins, hungry for flesh. They come from a fear we all understand. Science gone wrong, viruses spreading, civilization collapsing, a modern nightmare. But today, I want to take you somewhere older, much older, a place where fear feels deeper, more personal, and wrapped in a very different kind of mystery. In that world, there's another kind of returned soul. It doesn't scream. It doesn't growl. Its silence is the threat. It doesn't crave blood. What it wants is your life force, your breath. Listen carefully. In the gaps between the wind, can you hear it? Not the chaotic noise of a zombie horde, but something lonely, steady, rhythmic. Thump, thump, thump. This sound doesn't belong to any monster you know. It belongs to an Eastern ghost, a corpse dressed in ancient burial clothes. Its name is Jiangshi. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Shirley's Strange Tales. Let's put down the guns for a moment. Forget viruses, infections, and scientific explanations. To understand a Jiangshi, we first have to step into a philosophy that shaped the Eastern world for thousands of years. The philosophy of Qi. In ancient Chinese thought, everything in the universe, stars, mountains, forests, animals, is formed and driven by a kind of invisible life energy called Qi. You're alive because your body is filled with warm, active yang Qi. And death is simply the fading of this Qi, returning back to nature. A peaceful death means this Qi dissolves gently. The body is buried, the spirit rests. But things don't always go that way. If something interrupts this process, if that final breath of Qi refuses to leave, because of a powerful emotion, an external force, or some kind of supernatural interference, then something begins to twist. That trapped Qi becomes polluted. It starts to draw in Sha Qi, dark, corrupt energy from the world around it. When the pure Qi of life mixes with Sha Qi, nature breaks. The corpse changes. This is the birth of a Jiangshi. So what kind of force is strong enough to freeze a person between life and death? First, overwhelming emotion. A person who dies with unbearable injustice, deep hatred, or an unfinished obsession may hold on to their Qi so tightly that it cannot disperse. The body becomes a container for that resentment. Second, the power of the environment. Some lands are known as corpse-nourishing grounds. The soil is so lean and so unnatural that the body won't rot. Instead, it's fed, as if the earth is keeping it alive, letting hair and nails grow, absorbing more and more shadowy energy. Third, nature or human manipulation. A lightning strike on a grave, during a stormy night, or a sorcerer with dark intentions, using forbidden rituals to reactivate the corpse. And so, a body that should have returned to dust receives a second life, but not the kind anyone would want. A Jiangshi isn't revived. It's violating death. Its joints are frozen stiff, so it can only hop. It can't see, but it can sense your yang Qi in your breath. It moves in silence, dressed exactly as it was buried, driven only by hunger for the warmth of the living. Now let's bring in its Western counterpart, the zombie. Put them side by side, and you'll see they come from completely different worlds. Their origins are opposite. A Jiangshi is born from energy, philosophy, and the supernatural. It's a magical accident, a disturbance of Qi, forbidden land, or Taoist intervention. A zombie is born from science and fear. Viruses, radiation, failed experiments. The anxiety of modern society breaking down. One is a metaphysical nightmare. The other is a scientific doomsday. Their behaviors are completely different. A Jiangshi hops. Slow, stiff, rhythmic. It creates a quiet, heavy pressure. It's not chasing you. It feels like fate slowly closing in. A zombie moves like an animal. Slow or fast, but always driven by broken biology. Zombie fear is about being overwhelmed by numbers. Jiangshi fear is about being hunted by something ritualistic and inevitable. And how you fight them reveals the deepest difference between Eastern and Western thinking. To kill a zombie? Just destroy the brain. It's simple, direct, physical. Find the weak point. Hit harder. End of story. But a Jiangshi? Guns and knives barely matter. You're not fighting muscles. You're fighting a broken natural law. You need the right professional. A Taoist priest isn't a superhero. He's more like a cosmic engineer. A programmer who debugs supernatural glitches. His tools aren't weapons. They're symbols. The ink-soaked chalk line used by carpenters. A symbol of order and structure. Cuts through the chaos of a Jiangshi. The talisman drawn with cinnabar is like divine code, rewriting the energy inside the corpse. Even holding your breath isn't about fighting. It's about hiding your yang qi, temporarily disappearing from its radar. See the difference? So why does a Jiangshi look the way it does? Why the Qing dynasty robe? Why the stiff pose? To answer that, we need to look at the deep structure of Chinese culture. For thousands of years, one thing held society together: filial piety. To the Chinese, the real horror was never demons from outside, but the failure of family duty. Imagine this: the ancestor you honored, buried, respected, suddenly returns from the grave, not to bless you, but to drag you to death. A Jiangshi threatens the very foundation of family and lineage. And that robe, the Qing official outfit, isn't random at all. For modern Chinese filmmakers, especially Hong Kong creators, the Qing dynasty symbolized oppression, stagnation, foreign rule, and the pain of old history. So turning a Qing official into a hopping monster was a subtle way of expressing social frustration. That stiff body is a stiff government. That slow hop is the weight of history that refuses to go away. And the entire Jiangshi system, the talismans, the copper coin swords, the rituals, is basically a visual encyclopedia of Taoist cosmology. The yellow paper and cinnabar represent pure yang energy. The talisman is compiled spiritual code. The ink line creates boundaries of order. The ancient copper coins hold the collective yang qi of everyone who has touched them. Together, they form an Eastern magical system, based not on spells, but on philosophy, a logic of the universe, turned into tools. So you see, the Jiangshi was never just a monster. It's a cultural symbol, wearing the clothes of history, and carrying the weight of philosophy. It holds trapped qi, wears the robe of a fallen dynasty, and moves according to ancient cosmic rules. It hopped out of an Eastern grave, and somehow hopped into global pop culture. It reminds us that fear takes many forms. Even in an age where science explains everything, those old fears about energy, order, ancestors, and fate still whisper in the dark. The Jiangshi may look strange, even silly at first glance, but it opens a window into a civilization built on lineage, invisible forces, and the balance of nature. So next time, when you're walking alone at night, and you hear a slow, rhythmic thump, thump, remember, this might not be a problem you solve with firepower. Maybe all you need is a talisman written in cinnabar, a deep, steady breath, and a little ancient Eastern wisdom. That's all for today's episode of Shirley's Strange Tales. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.